You don't get any sound? Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are in a section in the Bodhasara called Bhakti Rasayana, the elixir by the name of Bhakti. Rasayana means that which rejuvenates, and so this is an elixir that rejuvenates one and Bhakti gives one a new lease on life. And in this section, Narahari, the writer of the Bodhasara, alludes to the last portion in the Bhagavad Gita and talks about how this bhakti, he's trying to make a point that bhakti at its peak, which is when it is Advaita Bhakti, a non-dual bhakti, when there is Sarvatma Bhava, in the sense of, for a jnani, for a person who is no longer ignorant of the self, the person knows that all that is here is an extension of Bhagavan, which is non-separate from me. And for that person has an attitude of bhakti towards the whole universe, towards each and everything that is sentient and insentient. So this bhakta is a jnani bhakta. So at that level of either jnanam or bhakti, it's one and the same. That is the point that he's trying to make. He's trying to say that there is only, at that level, there is only bhakti, you can say, or there is only jnanam, you can say, because jnani is a bhakta, and at that level, that kind of a bhakta who sees Ishvara everywhere, he is non-separate and indistinguishable from a jnani. That's his point. And to illustrate this point, he takes on, or he illustrates it with the last portion of the 12th chapter, which we are studying in depth. 12th chapter, Bhagavad Gita. And there, the lakshanas of a jnani bhakta are outlined. Although in the 7th chapter, the Jnani Bhakta is mentioned, Artho Artharthi Jignasu Jnani. These are the 4 kinds of bhaktas, and we've discussed them in detail. One is what kind of bhakta? 911 bhakta. Only in emergency situations thinks of Bhagavan. And then we have the person who goes to temple regularly and makes a deal with Bhagavan. Then we have the Jignasu Bhakta who is curious about the truth of the world, the truth of Bhagavan, and the truth of oneself. And then finally we have Jnani Bhakta. And who is this Jnani Bhakta? Jnani tu Atma eva. Jnani tu Atma eva, Bhagavan says. The Jnani Bhakta is myself alone, indistinguishable from me. So there is that equation of the Jiva with Ishvara happening at that level of bhakti. So it is a living, that kind of a bhakti, a Jnani Bhakta's bhakti is a living expression of Advaita. It is called Advaita Siddhi, and it's a living expression of, of the Mahavakya. It's a walking, talking Mahavakya, and so therefore these these values and attitudes that are talked about in chapter 12 are very important to internalize. And we also had a nice discussion. Are the all the values and attitudes, are they for the jnani or the ajnani? It's not for the jnani, because the jnani already has those internalized those attitudes and values. It's not for the ajnani, because the ajnani is not interested in internalizing the attitudes and values of a jnani, because the ajnani is ajnani, and he or she is ignorant even to understand what to inculcate. So then who is this section for? Hmm? It's for the jnani wannabe. Yeah, exactly. So it's for the jnani wannabe, and this is a very important section to study at length. And then, one more question comes up. How is this section that we are studying, the 12th chapter, different from a similar section that comes at the end of the second chapter? At the end of the second chapter, Arjuna asks a question, and which prompts Bhagavan to again discuss attitudes and values of a jnani, because Arjuna wants to um, point out and identify the jnani by sight. What are they wearing? How do they sit? How do they stand? What do they eat? What do they drink? How do they talk? And Lord Krishna is not interested in answering that, because that is not at this level. You are not going to try to identify the jnani from their food choices, because that would be a very wrong way to look at the jnani, because what makes a jnani is what is inside, what is going on inside, not outside. And so inside that person, what are the attitudes and values, and that is where Lord Bhagavan, Krishna, starts to list all the attitudes that make a jnani. And what are they? There is a whole lot of things, but the main thing that stands out is Prajahati. Two things stand out. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmani eva atmana tushtah sthita prajnah tada uchyate. So the one who is able to give up the desires as and when they arise in the mind, and then the one who is happy being themselves without needing a prop, emotional prop, physical prop, you know, lollipop, nothing. They just are happy being who they are. This is what was told about the jnani there, back in chapter 2. So one may mount a question, an objection of sorts, that why is this Bhagavad Gita repeating itself in chapter 12? It's basically discussing the same kinds of attitudes and values that was already discussed in chapter 2. So why should I listen to something that is redundant? First of all, we should listen because chapter 2 was a long time ago. Yeah, that was 10 chapters ago. And then, especially if one is studying home study or whatever, once a week, 1 hour class, or sometimes people do it twice a month, 1 hour class. What happens? Nothing happens. You forget everything. But that's just the Vyavaharika reason, the empirical reason to study this. The real reason is also to study this is because there is a slight difference in emphasis. In the second chapter, we get the pure and simple, the characteristics, the attributes, and whatever the assimilation of attitudes and values of a jnani per se. But in chapter 12, we get that intersection between the bhakta and the jnani, between bhakti and jnanam. Where do they meet? Because as we see, especially this post Vivekananda always is two divergent paths. Yeah. Path of bhakti, path of knowledge, path of karma, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, and then what else, Something else. Raja yoga, hatha yoga, and then bhoga. That's all. So these are all ways in which somehow the Hindu tradition has mm, it's an indelible influence. These four paths, you know, only things remaining are sociopath and psychopath, because all other paths are covered here. So these four paths, way of looking at it, it's kind of has got a staying power that's amazing. It's a tenacious idea, somehow took root, and it's attributed to Swami Vivekananda, and we don't know whether he came up with that or not, or whether it was already preceding him. But anyhow, that's what people say, that he came up with that. And it's really phenomenal how much of an abiding influence it has over any discussion of Hindu spirituality. Because without these four paths, nobody even picks up the topic. And so, if the paths are like, they are seen as divergent roads that lead to the same goal. Whether you go the Raja Yoga way, you exercise yourself into moksha, and you bhakti yourself into ecstasy, you do karma with an attitude of service and Bhagavan, etc., and you act yourself out into moksha, or you bhakti yourself out into moksha. These are some, some kind of it'll never go. It's become part of the Hindu psyche. Now, there are problems with this because Bhakti Yoga is not a separate path. And this is what Narahari also is talking about in Bhakti Rasayana, that Bhakti Yoga is not a separate path, primarily because Bhakti involves action. Bhakti involves action. What will the Bhakti Yogi do? Already that is a loaded question. Laden with lot of this thing. How will he do bhakti? Do bhakti means what? Bhakti is not an action. Bhakti is an attitude with which action is done. So as soon as the bhakti yogi starts to do action, the attitude of bhakti, it is indistinguishable from karma yoga. It's indistinguishable. So, because that's what the karma yogi does. So how are you going to distinguish bhakti yogi and karma yogi there? And again, the bhakti yogi will do bhajans, from a asanga way. That is called kaikam karma. Vachikam karma. The bhakti yogi will do archana with the flowers. Again, that is kaikam karma. Bhakti yogi will do mental meditation upon the name of the Lord. Narayana, Narayana. But again, that is manasam karma. It is karma. And as long as you've entered the realm of karma, there is virtually indistinguishable from, So, what to do now? So we have to understand that bhakti and jnanam intersect in a very interesting way, in two ways. One is that it is a solid preparation to have this, to develop the attitude of bhakti is a solid preparation for the knowledge. Two, another subtle intersection is where the bhakti is very distilled, spiritual. One is spiritually, evolved. Evolved means matured. Emotionally matured, emotionally evolved, spiritually evolved person. And in that person, that bhakti has a vacuuming effect of all the ragadveshas. Such a person is one with Ishvara all the time. And so there, that kind of a bhakta who is a jnani is different from, is no different from a jnani who is a bhakta. Both are the same. That is the whole idea. And here also, Lord Krishna, Bhagavan Krishna, is kind of trapped in the question, in the same question that Arjuna is keeping on recycling. And asks in the 12th chapter, you know. So satatam yukta ye swam par upasate ye chapyaksharam avyaktam tesham ke yogavittamaha. So there are evam satata yuktaye. These are people who are very much yuktaha because they are put together, they are emotionally together, spiritually together, and what do? They bhaktaha, these are bhaktas, tvam paryupasate. They worship you, and they worship you in a form. The flute is important, the peacock feather is important, everything is wonderfully important. They like your form and they worship your form. And then there are others. What do? Yeja api aksharam avyaktam. They worship you in an unmanifest form. As that akshara means that which is changeless, causeless cause, which is ever, which is oneself alone, the truth of oneself, and out of these two, which is better? It's the same thing he's been asking earlier also. I want to focus on this knowledge. Why are you making me fight this war? That is, it's just a hidden question, that's all. And so in response to this whole chapter unfolds. A very short chapter, very pithy and actually very beautiful as well. And so in the last 6 verses or so, Lord Krishna enunciates the qualities and the attributes of the one who is a bhakta and who is a jnani. So it doesn't matter whether the bhakti led to the jnanam or the jnanam led to the bhakti, does not matter. At that level, the two are indistinguishable. And so, with these words, let's go to the verses themselves. So I think we have done. I couldn't get the correct connection from last time because that video from the last Bodhasara that I was looking at was just chopped up into 3 pieces and I didn't know where to look. And so I think we stopped at 15. We finished 15. Am I right? Somebody who attended the last class, can you please respond? Hello, are people there? Yeah, so we have finished 15. Oh, thank you, Sita. 15. So we'll go to 16 now. We'll chant the verse and look at it. Anapekshashuchirdakshaha udasino gatavyathah sarvarambha parityagi yo madbhaktas sa me priyah yo na hrishyati na dveshti na shochati na kankshati shubha shubha parityagi bhaktimanyassa me priyah. So, very beautiful. So, number 16, very beautiful. We'll look at it word by word. Anapekshaha. Apeksha means dependence, expectancy, dependence of sorts. So, what are examples of apeksha? Apeksha, the whole life is full of apeksha. Every day, you don't wake up without apeksha. You don't go to sleep without apeksha. There's going to sleep, what apeksha is there? That I will get good sleep. That is the apeksha, correct? That I will sleep well, that much apeksha is there. So every act that is done is not without apeksha. So here the jnani is described as the opposite of an apekshi, anapekshaha. Means the jnani is not having any kind of apeksha, expectancy or dependency upon situations, places, people, events and things in order to be happy. Starting with one's own body minds, that's what the thing is. So when you wake up, there is the apeksha that the body will take you from the bedroom to the living room. That apeksha is there. Supposing there is a crick in the leg or the neck or something, and the body refuses to move, one becomes immediately what? Dukhi. Then the body moves, Sukhi. So like this, Dukhi, Sukhi, Dukhi, Sukhi, batted about by apeksha. So when the dependency is on something external, immediately what happens? There is this disappointment. One becomes a yo-yo between expectancy, ecstasy, and agony. So agony, and then agony gone, and then ecstasy, and then back to agony. This is what the whole life is. It's a toss-up. You never know what you're going to get. And then in order to wait for the ecstasy, you have to have several, agonies. So, what to do now? And so, therefore, the advice here is to grow into becoming an anapekshaha. So, apeksha means looking for certain things to keep them in good humor, looking for certain things to handle them, to deal with them, and looking for certain things to make them, happy. Situations can make one happy or unhappy. This is what everybody thinks. So the constant struggle in life becomes to have situations, to multiply those situations which are comfortable and minimize those situations which are uncomfortable. And this is why the recipe for sadness, because you can neither maximize those situations or can you minimize those situations. I mean, you can try, but most of the time you can't manufacture them. You can't manufacture the situations according to, it's like not, you can't it's not like going to a restaurant, sitting to the menu and say, I'll have that, that, and that, and exactly that, and that comes. So here you are at Bhagavan's table, the table of karmic repast. It's a good one. Yeah. So repast. So there is a karmic repast going on. And so on the table of karmic repast, you say, oh, I'll just have that because that looks good. What is that? That's a shopping trip to Dubai. I don't know why, but people like to do that. I say, these days that's what I keep hearing about. And then, people say, oh, that looks nice, I'll have that. But it's not in your karma. No, but the neighbor is going to Dubai. Let them go. You cannot go. Why? Why can't I go? I'll go. And then what happens? On the plane, everybody else boards. You are denied boarding. Why? Because you are denied boarding because that's what you've been heard. It has to come back. And so therefore what? So therefore you can't just go to the table of life, the table of karmic repast, and have a deal with Bhagavan and say, I'll have this, but I don't want that. You can't do that. It's like a plate of a small child. At least in India, the children are told you have to eat everything. Yeah. In other countries, what do they say to make the children finish their plates? In Western countries, the parents say, you must finish your plate, starving. So somebody asked me, what does the Indian parents say? I said, they say, you better finish your plate because other people in the world think that we are starving. That's what it is. So anyhow, so it's like when you give the child a plate, what do you tell the child? You have to finish everything. There is no choice. This is like a thali culture. And so too, with your karma, there is no choice. No choice, what will come? No, you cannot sort of, say, I want only this, and I don't want that. Can't do that. And so therefore, the apeksha of having certain things only come at a certain time. What does it do? It makes one weak and unprepared to take whatever comes in life as prasada. We have already seen in the 10-day retreat, we saw prasada buddhi. And so it makes one, seeking preparation, not yet prepared, to take things as prasada. And this is why it is very, very important to learn to become an anapeksha. Anapeksha means apeksha na vidyate yasya. It's a bahuvrihi compound. So the one who has no dependency, starting with the body, mind, sense complex, here is the rub. You may say, oh, I don't need anybody, I'm fine. You know, and people say that, they are, the only thing they have apeksha for or dependency on is the smartphone. And if you just give me the smartphone, I don't need anybody, I don't need anything. Because that's how one is connected. Now, here Adi Shankara in his bhashya says anapeksha means starting with the body, mind, sense complex. There is no dependency. Even with the prana, there is no dependency at all. No dependency with the prana. And, usually we say, oh, if I can't breathe, I'm gone, oh my God. Here the person just is able to see the prana come and go and know that I am that changeless, self-conscious, self-evident consciousness because of which prana exists. I don't exist because prana exists. Prana exists because I exist. Prana exists after. I tishtami, and then pranaha anutishtati. Yes, anutishtati means stay, is in accordance. Plan means Bhagavan's plan. I am non-separate from that. And so anapeksha is, this is what is the meaning of anapeksha. Starting with the body, mind, sense complex, there is so much objectivity that there is no expectancy and dependency that things are going to be a certain way. Because that is a foolproof recipe for sorrow. If you want to be sad, all you have to do is have a lot of apeksha, which has not been properly interrogated or healed up. Okay? Anapeksha. And then what's the next word? Shuchihi. Shuchihi means clean. So the jnani takes a shower every day? No, that's not the point. Here clean means free of raga. It's the external shaucha is important, but we are also talking of the internal shaucham. So ashuchihi means the one who is impure. And who is this impure person? The impure person is rendered impure because of the presence of ashubha. Ashubha means inauspicious things like raga, like dvesha. That is what makes one impure. So anapekhi, and else dakshaha. Very nice word. Dakshaha. Daksha has many meanings. It's a very beautiful word, and that's how Lord Dakshinamurti got his name. But the word Daksha has got a lot of meanings. The first meaning is the one who is adept. Daksha literally means adept. Adept means has a lot of and is objective enough to assess a situation, have quick reflexes, and give a dispassionate solution to whatever problem is at hand. That is the first meaning of daksha. Somebody who is able to size up the situation. Happens if there is some kind of an escalated conflict or some emergency situation, the first thing that the person does is have a meltdown. That is the masses. This is what everybody does. You have a meltdown. What kind of a meltdown? Oh no! And I'm completely like a statue. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go, what I look for, and I'm totally at a loss. So therefore what? So I'm having a meltdown. And that's because one is not a daksha. But what does the daksha do? The daksha is objective enough to assess the situation and say, okay, this is what have they done so far? Oh, they have called the doctor, that's good. They've called the ambulance, that's good. Oh, but they have not informed the hospital that they are coming. Okay, I should do that and make sure there is a bed, or otherwise we have to go to some other hospital. So like this, the daksha is able to think ahead, think clearly, and and not just think, but also execute whatever has been thought of very or if not execute, if they are not in the power to execute, they give the suggestions to the people, and if they don't execute, going to execute the person who did not execute the commands. Yeah, they're going to say, okay, I have given the suggestion. If it doesn't work for you, ठीक है, no problem. Correct? This is the first meaning of the word daksha. And then the second meaning is one who is adept in the Vedas. Yeah. Vedeshu, in the Vedas, they are daksha, they know Shruti, they know Smriti, they know Puranas, like Adi Shankara. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram. So the one who is the Alaya, an abode of Shruti, Smriti, Purana, this is what is called, Dakshaha, the one who is a scholar, widely read in the Vedas and deeply read also, the one who has thought about it, and the one who is an adept in the Vedas is called Daksha. Then finally, the most, fitting meaning for the Jnani is the third meaning, although the other two also can be taken, they're not wrong. But the most fitting one is saved for the last. Daksha means the one who is a Jnani. How? Because, it talks of aptitude and a level of being adept. And you can be adept at a lot of things, correct? You can be adept at one thing and then but not at the other, or two things or three things, but one can never be adept at all things. But here, one is an absolute adept, because knowing which knowledge thing is as good as known. So this is an absolute way to become an adept. You excel in that one thing, knowing which everything else is known. It's a master key rather than trying so many keys and boring holes in the wood of the door and trying to reach into the lock and all. You just have one master key that opens everything all at once. And so here, that is what is called a daksha, the one who has understood the primacy of this knowledge and its benefits for one's life, and the one who is not going anywhere. And this is the one who is a daksha. So three meanings, very, very beautiful. Anapekshaha, shuchihi, dakshaha. Then the next one is udasinaha. Udasin means neutral. Yeah, neutral. Not getting affected by all kinds of, what's its name, ups and downs. Because life will have ups and downs. Starting with one's own body, one day it is up, another day down. Third day again it is up, fourth day down. So, so dakshaha, udasinaha. Udasinaha means that, one is not looking for certainty in uncertain places, number one. And udasinaha means absolutely impartial. Yeah. What comes to mind is this Sahadeva. Sahadeva, one of the twins and the brother of Arjuna. Arjuna had 5 brothers. So Nakula and Sahadeva were twins, and Sahadeva was one of the twins. And Sahadeva was a very good astrologer, wonderful astrologer, and everybody far and wide came to get his opinion. What should I do? When should I get the child? My daughter wants to get married. So when is the date for her to get married? So when should I retire from my job? So many things they had, so many ancient questions, and about their lives everybody came, even kings came to get his predictions. And then the Kshetra battle was going to start. Mahabharata war was about to start, and it was clear that they could not have any other negotiation. They had to go to war. And then so Arjuna, of course, wanted to know from his brother when is a good time to fight the war? So I will win. When is a good time? And and Sahadeva happily told, if you fight the war at this time, victory is assured for you. And surprisingly, Duryodhana, the baddie, the evil one, the bad one from the other camp, also came. To who? Sahadeva. So much did he respect him, he didn't think this is my rival and this is the brother of my rival who I'm going to, stand against in the battlefield. No. He just walked and he said to Sahadeva, please tell me, oh sir, revered sir, when should I start the battle so that I will win? And Sahadeva very impartially gave him the date and time, and he insisted on starting at that date. But Lord Krishna was there, so we don't have to worry. Lord Krishna delayed the battle by a few minutes so that, the Duryodhana will not win. He was tricked. But then that is not Sahadeva. Sahadeva was not trying to manipulate the situation to a certain, end. That is what is called, what is that word? Udasinaha. Udasinaha. And then the next, Gatha Vyathaha. The word Vyatha means affliction. So it is Kaikam, Vachikam, Manasam, whatever, doesn't matter. Mental affliction, physical affliction, affliction about the mental afflictions, about the physical, afflictions, etc. It doesn't matter what it is. So the person is afflicted. Vyatha means afflicted. Gatavyatha, very interesting compound. Nirgata, Vyatha, Yasmat. Yeah. So, from whom all afflictions have departed, then only one can become Udasina. Udasina means care, two hoots about anything. Doesn't matter, because the outcome, I don't have a specific outcome in mind, and so therefore I'm not trying to work for that outcome. So whatever happens, let it happen. I'm not going to interfere. So Udasina is someone who is non-interfering. And when can one be totally non-interfering? That is the sadhu's lakshana. Non-interfering. Non-interfering in what? In people's lives, in people's situations, whatever it is. Trying to manipulate people and situations to one's own likes and to serve the cause of one's own likes and dislikes is not Udasina. Udasina means the one who is, impartial. And only when one is impartial, one can become Gatavyathaha, unafflicted by situations. And if you are unafflicted by situations, then, one is impartial. And likewise, if you are impartial, it goes without saying that one is not easily shaken by the situation. What kind of situations? Loss, pain, sorrow, fear. They don't affect the jnani in the same way. They don't affect the jnani at all. And this is what has to be understood. So, Udasinaha Gathavyathaha. And what's the next one? So, Gathavyathaha. I'm still looking for it. What's the next one? Udasino Gathavyathaha. Yes, fully dispassionate. Sarvarambha Parityagi. Yeah, Sarvarambha Parityagi, very important. So, Gathavyathaha, Vyatha Nirgata Yasmat, from whom the afflictions have departed. Udasinaha, non-interfering, not standing to gain anything from the interfering into people's lives, micromanaging them and telling them what they should do, what they should not do. This is all a hunger for Aishwarya. Aishwarya in the kind of a upside down Aishwarya, wrong vision of Aishwarya. Aishwarya means overlordship. And that overlordship is Ishwarasya Bhava. That is the characteristic of Ishvara really, this Aishwarya. And of course, the jiva wants this Aishwarya and mistakenly looks for it through controlling other people. That is not Udasina. Udasina means who is very impartial. And then the one who is dispassionate, impartial, cheerful, Gathavyatha, perturbed, not in fact not at all perturbed by situations, not dependent upon the situations, not trying to manipulate the situation. And then therefore, this again follows from all this. Sarva arambha parityagi, the non-initiator of things. Parityagi means the renouncer. So what is the renouncer renouncing? Sarvarambha. Sarvarambha means initiating anything at all. So for the jnani, the initiation comes from the people around them, if at all, if they act. They don't act, on the behalf of their ragadveshas. They act because they are moved to act. Somebody is pulling them towards them, and so out of a sense of compassion, out of a sense of a certain, hey, why not help? I'm in a situation to help. That kind of a situation, out of that kind of a mindset, they will help. And they're not helping to come in the news the next day. They're not helping to later say, okay, I helped you that day, now I need a donation. No, they're helping because because they can. That's all. In the Viveka Chudamani, there is a very nice verse talking about the teachers. And it says that there are teachers who, like the spring, the spring simply blooms. It doesn't do anything at all other than just bloom. And it does not calculate and say how pretty I am this time, and so I have given them so much and I need something back. No. Everything is in bloom, and all because everything is in bloom, the gloom of the winter is chased away, and it's all just wonderful. And so here a similar thing is being said about the teachers of Vedanta, the teachers of this knowledge, not just the sadhus who sit quietly and enjoy this, but the ones who allow other people also to blossom as a result of this knowledge. And this is what is talked about, Vasantavat Lokahitan, and Shantaha. So the ones whose minds are resolved and the ones who like spring for no reason at all. Ahetuna, without any reason. What do? Like the spring blossoms and brings a smile on everyone's faces. Similarly, these sadhus, these jnanis, what do? By their teaching, they transform the whole, everyone. They transform everyone and bring, bring the Swarupa smile, the Ananda smile of their own Swarupa, give it back to them. And in so doing, what do? They just brighten up the place wherever they set their feet, because they don't have anything to gain from doing that, and they have nothing to gain from doing that either. So they have nothing to gain from it. They have nothing to gain from not doing it. So therefore they are very dispassionate. Back to Udasina. And if one is dispassionate, one is cheerful, and then one can also be what? Sarvarambha parityagi, because they just do things because they are pulled by the needs and wants of the people around them. So in other words, they have no longer slave to their ragadveshas, but they help out the sattvika ragas or desires of all the people. Not the rajasic and the tamasic, they don't respond to that, but they respond to the most pure desires, like the desire for knowledge if somebody has, and this person is here, the sadhu is able to give it, they will respond. Somebody has, some small desire, like Shabari had the desire that Lord Rama should come to her ashram, And in the story that, this, what is it? She was the head of an ashram. She was an acharya in her own right. She had a whole ashram. And, in those days, MMS, no SMS, nothing. And so she knew she had that desire, that tivra ichha, that burning desire that Lord Rama should, come to her and visit her ashram. And so convinced she was that her wish would come true that she wanted to keep the ashram in ship shape. And so every day she thought, today is the day Lord Rama is going to come. And so she would clean up the place. She would keep everything. So she waited like this for several years. And then Lord Rama was pulled to come there, and he had no desire to go there. Udasinaha gatavyatha, and but her sattvic desire to have him come to the ashram materialized, and then that's how he went there. So Lord Rama is an example here of this ahetukaha, without reason, just helping people out. There is no Lord Rama did not gain anything by going to that ashram. In fact, he got to eat previously sampled berries because she didn't know which were sweet. So she had some, berries she had picked from the tree. So she bit into each and every one and then, threw away the pungent ones, the sour ones, and, gave it, which was very disconcerting, Lord, for the Lord. And Lakshmana was about to cut off her head, and Lord Rama says, no, look at her bhakti here, and look at the bhakti, and look at the depth of the feeling. And that's what, has here. Lord Rama, stalls Lakshmana. Don't insult her. Don't try to cut off her head. She's a bhakta par excellence. And so he came there without any reason, a hetuna. And so like this, these, Sarvarambha Parityagi means the ones who have stopped initiating anything on their own. They don't initiate on their own. If they have a desire, see, like you cannot say that the person is desireless, but their desires are not ichha prarabdha or their own, what is that? Their own desires, but their desires are a response to the needs of the spiritual needs and wants and the pains of the people they encounter. And the Viveka Chudamani says about such people, Vasantavat Lokahitam Charantaha, are the benefit of the people, and like the spring, which does not cause any harm, they too only, bring about color into people's lives. And then Swayam Tirnaha, they are already crossed over what? The river of samsara. In fact, they have understood that there is no river to cross. That is that is a better way to say. And then Swayam Tirnaha Anyanapi Tarayantaha. So since they have crossed, they have some experience, they have some understanding, and they share that experience and understanding with others. And so whatever their experiences have been going through this knowledge and how they were before, and so they recall for everyone else who is asking them. So therefore, Sarvarambha Parityagi means the one who is not interested in initiating anything. Nothing to initiate. And whatever they initiate, like Shankara wrote books, Vyasa wrote books, Shankara wrote books and manuscripts, etc. And all that was out of a desire to help. Not a codependent desire to help, not a desire to help fraught with some kind of a pattern where sometimes people want to help because they can't stand the pain that they are in. They are in a lot of emotional pain, and to overcome that, they want to help somebody else. This is not that kind of a help. This, help is of the most exalted kind, where they don't really gain anything out of it, but they help anyway. So this is what it is. Sarvarambha Parityagi, and the next verse is going to say Shubha Shubha Parityagi. So Sarvarambha Parityagi is the hallmark of a sannyasi and a jnani, a sannyasi who is a jnani, because in the karma yogi will be initiating things. This is not just the person who is leading an ethical life, because they will be initiating all kinds of works, because they want to go places, they want to get things, they want name, they want fame, whatever they want. Maybe all those subserve the cause of moksha and preparing for moksha, but they are still busy initiating things, on the what is called yoga kshema level. Yoga kshema level means they, whatever apraptasya praptam, gaining, they are busy trying to gain things they don't have, and then praptasya rakshanam. And what do they do the rest of the time? They are busy protecting what they do have, or they are busy getting rid of what they don't want. Like this. So these are all, examples of a person who is a mumukshu, who is also a jigyasu, but who is not a jnani. So what is the difference? They'll be doing all these things, because you can't really say I'm not going to do anything and sit in one place. So some action is required, and that action comes, the impetus for that action comes, the drive comes from the ragadveshas. The ragadveshas sit in the car seat and say, take a left. Oh, that's the one way, doesn't matter, take a left right now. So they mislead, and they take you away from this pursuit. And even if one is struggling like a karma yogi, but still it's not the same as the jnani bhakta mentioned here, because parityagi, sarvarambha parityagi, gives everything, gives up anything at all. There is no desire to start something. There is no startup, desire in the jnani here. The jnani doesn't want to have ashrams. The jnani doesn't want to have, what is that? Some big following. The jnani doesn't want to have, lot of fame or name. Oh, but the jnani wants to teach. Yeah, the jnani likes to teach, because teaching, helps people. Again, it is a shuchi desire, a pure desire for the sake of helping people. That is why if the jnani indulges in teaching, it's because of that. And so this is what the sarvarambha arambha means beginnings. Parityagi, renouncer of the beginnings. What kind of beginnings? All beginnings. Because the beginnings are fraught with difficulties. So therefore you just give up the beginning itself. The beginnings are always very tense times. They're very tenuous, they're very tense, and you don't know and how to begin. What if I take the wrong step? What if I have starting trouble? All this is not there for the jnani. Jnani means what? Jnani bhakta here, and we'll come to that bhakti soon. Because such a person is free, is totally free of anything to be gained, because they are basking in their own swarupa, and that is more than plenty to spend their time, because the Atma is not boring. The Atma doesn't make a bore, the Atma doesn't make you bored either. There is no bore. Oh, but it's so boring. Just sitting thinking about Atma. They're not thinking. The Jnani is not thinking about Atma. The Jnani is Atma. And a second thing not being available, the whole world becomes, a mithya entertainment of sorts. So the whole world becomes very light and no longer heavy, because you don't think out of the world. So you're able to enjoy without trying to squeeze something out. And that is what is called sarvarambha parityagi, a dropout from life who does not want to initiate anything, and who, because it's of no use. If I initiate it, I start a company, but then it'll need some more money, and then it's a money hog, it keeps needing money, and then the workers are dissatisfied and something happens, and eventually I have to fold it up. This is what happens. And so here There is no trying to fold it up. There is no trying to start it. You don't start it. Only when you start, there is the fear of it may get folded up. You don't start it. But again, you're not like the person who is what? Who is very um, apathetic. And does he also or she also is a sarvarambha parityagi? Why doesn't get out of bed? There is no arambha there because they are depressed. No, this is not a dejected individual or a rejected individual who feels, oh, what's the point in applying for one more job? It will just reject me. No, this person is a very, is a wonderful jnani who is not interested in starting anything because why start something? Because whatever I want to get, whatever pleasure I will get of starting something or controlling something or having something, that I already can get through this knowledge and through this enjoyment. So these are all characteristics of the jnani. But if you go a little further here in the verse, you will see that it's called a bhakta. Bhakta here means what? Yeah. Yo mad bhaktaha same priyaha. Bhagavan says such a person is extremely dear to me. Extremely dear to me. Oh, why is such a person extremely dear to me? Such a person is dear to me because Bhagavan says he or she is my bhakta. How is that a bhakti? Because, all these things. We started with anapekshaha, dakshaha, udasinah, gatavyathaha, and sarvarambha parityagi. 6 qualities here. So what makes all these 6 qualities, relevant for somebody called a bhakta who is a jnani? The bhakta is because these 6 qualities you cannot have without being a bhakta, really, in addition to being a jnani. Backwards, sarvarambha parityagi. When do you stop doing things? When do you stop initiating actions? When you are secure. Yeah. And when are you secure? When you are connected with Bhagavan. When you know that Bhagavan is there to take care of everything, this is even on the level of the relative security. But on the absolute level of security, you are that Bhagavan. That extension is made in the mind. And then you are that Bhagavan. So what is there to be afraid of? Na bibheti kutaschaneti, says Taittiriya Upanishad. The person has no fear from another thing because another thing not being there at all. So there is no fear. It means the devotion is complete. Yes, because that every Bhagavan in the Hindu tradition is standing in Abhaya Mudra and giving Abhaya Danam is not is not something to be taken for granted. This shows that I, connected to the Lord, just like a child, connected to its source, is free of fear. Similarly, this alienated jiva, connected to its source, is free of fear. That's what it is. And that connection, that bridge is bhakti. And that bhakti brings about these kinds of changes in the human being because they are no longer wanting to pursue anything. Other than Bhagavan, nothing is to be pursued. If you pursue Bhagavan, you get everything. If you pursue one thing, you may not get that either. So, Bhagavan being everything, there is nothing to pursue because that Bhagavan is myself alone. So, therefore, Sarvarambha Parityagi. And then what? And then all the other ones, Udasinaha, Gatavyathaha, Shuchihi, all these have relevance to bhakti. Yeah, so Shuchihi, that cleanliness, is an aspect, an important aspect of seva for Bhagavan or ashram or wherever one goes. That Shuchihi, that cleanliness, that is an important aspect of seva, and the word bhakti means actually sevaya, service of some kind. And then you have, what other words are there? Shuchihi, then anapeksha, the non-expectant one, again connected to Bhagavan. Only one can be non-expectant because the jnani knows. If I'm supposed to be alive, food will come. If I'm supposed to eat, eating will happen. If I'm supposed to sleep, a bed or a sleeping surface will materialize. You know. So therefore, this Sarvarambha Parityagi, is connected to the Anapeksha in the beginning, same thing, the one who has no expectancy. And because the person has no expectations, then, they are not trying to start anything. No startup, no close down, nothing. And so this is how the Jnani is here, a Jnani Bhakta. And such a Bhakta very dear to me, Lord Krishna says. So we'll read the second one and then we'll see it next time. The next one we will read. Yo na hrishyati na dveshti na shocati na kankshati shubha shubha parityagi bhaktiman yassa me priyah. Avoid the pitfalls of this yo-yo life, agony and ecstasy and agony and ecstasy. And the one who is even tempered, such a person is a very dear to me, Bhagavan says. And we'll conclude here now. The next class, weekend of January 28th, 29th, I think it's on the 29th, the next class, and we'll let you know the time a little later, okay? But mark 29th for the next class. And then again, we'll see each other on Tuesday and Wednesday for Shvetashvatara and Kathopanishad, respectively. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Any questions? Thank you. Thank you all for coming. So many people have woken up early. Oh, Dakshina, what time is it there? Dakshina from Hawaii. Yeah, Kumkum, nice to see you. And Shivani is there. I was thinking of you today. Sheila is there. Everybody is here. Very nice. Veera, nice to see you. Yeah, 6:15. See? So she's been listening from 5 o'clock. Yeah. Kate is here. Everybody is here. Wonderful. Yeah, live stream is not there. It's not on live stream. It will be on this itself. Ask Janani to send you the link. Okay? All right. All the best. Om. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you, Andrew, for the wonderful work you have done. Thank you so much. He converts all these videos and puts them on live stream. Definitely a seva of love. Okay, all the best. Om. Om. Harihi Om. Nice.